Hey guys, Tyler here. Today I'm going to talk about something that's pretty interesting that I found to be hilarious. Of course, I'm talking about the recent debate that I saw with the Democrats in regards to LGBT issues. Now, before I talk about the whole entire matter that I give my personal thoughts and opinions about, I want to first state that I have no problems with LGBT people. And matter of fact, I actually voted for gay marriage when I was like back in 2011 in the state of Maryland, or basically they had like Obama running, and so I actually voted for gay marriage. And so naturally, I have no issue if a person's bisexual, transgender, or any of the other kind of stuff that they have nowadays. I personally don't give a shit about that kind of stuff. However, at the same time, when you criticize like the movement or like if you criticize individuals, there are some people that perceive it as transphobic or homophobic or whatever kind of phobic. So before I start criticizing or giving my thoughts and opinions about the whole entire matter with the Democrats, again, I have no issue with gay people. I have no issue with the LGBT stuff. So I'm on your side when it comes down to this issue. That said, like there was some stuff that I just found to be so hilarious that I want to share with you guys. Of course, more recently, Harris went on stage, and what happened was that she used the pronoun stuff where she just addressed people with the stupid he or she stuff. So let's take a look at the video.
Good to see you, Senator. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
How are you? Anna. Thank you guys. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
She, her, and her. Mine too.
You know, it's kind of strange that they use the pronoun stuff outside of Tumblr, mostly because it seems as though that that no one really gives a shit about this whole entire pronoun stuff unless it's like the social justice warrior crowd. Like I never seen anybody just put an emphasis on like the pronouns we need to use and this and that. As far as my personal thoughts about the pronoun stuff, like I would acknowledge a trans person if they're like a he or a she. So I'll call them like he or she if they're like a trans person. But when it comes down to the issue about like, it or they or Z or whatever, I'm sorry. I am not going to use those kind of pronouns. Like I think that the pronouns that are the most like acceptable for me at least are just saying he or she. I would not say like it or them or whatever kind of made up pronoun from Tumblr, because ultimately I do believe that there's only two genders. There's male and there's female. So, sir, I'm not gonna call like somebody who's obviously like a the opposite of sex like the made a pronoun and stuff. So let's go to the other video that I also found pretty funny. So this video is actually comes it's loading up right now. It's like a kid who wait, let me pause it for 1 minute. But basically it's like a kid who calls himself like a transgender kid who's like 9 years old. So let's take a look at the video.
He's an advocate for transgender youth and active with the Human Rights Campaign. Jacob is an elementary school student from Massachusetts, likes to play hockey. Jacob.
All right, Jacob.
My name is Jacob, and I'm a 9-year-old transgender American. My question is...
All right, Jacob. Hold on.
What will you do in your first week as president to make sure that kids like me feel safer in school?
I'm kind of curious, how in the world have we gotten to a point where there are transgender kids? Like, what the hell just happened? Like, basically, like, when kids are just kids, like, they don't really think about sexuality that much. And matter of fact, it's a common theme among guys that they think that girls have cooties. And of course, like, when people get older as teenagers, like, what they know is that they start to, experiment and discover their own personal sexualities. And so I'm just kind of curious, just how in the hell does a person this young calls himself a transgender person when most kids don't even know the concept about transgenderism? It's just so bizarre and so strange to push this kind of ideology, this sort of mindset onto a kid when kids don't really care about this kind of stuff. Now let's look like another video I saw where basically like the person says that like misgendering a person is violence, and that's also pretty funny. So let's load up the video and let's take a look at the video. And it's gonna load up any second.
Secretary Castro, I want to bring in Shay Diamond, a singer-songwriter from Los Angeles. She currently supports Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Shay, what's your question?
It's Shea Diamond.
Shea Diamond.
Put that on the record.
Okay. It's on the record. Thank you.
Yes, honey, it's violence to misgender or to alter a name of a trans person. So
No, it's not violence. I'm sorry. Like, I know that is very stupid and very asshole-ish for a person to just, misgender somebody because of their gender. That is an asshole move. But that is not literal violence. Like, when I think about violence, I think of people using physical assault against each other. Like, words are not literally violence. Like, words are like a form of speech that people use to communicate. Like, you don't really hurt somebody with violence. It's true that sometimes the words that we use from our mouth, they tend to impact people, like, hurt feelings. But as far as like literal violence, no, words are not violence. That is stupid. Of course, there's also like this whole entire controversy with churches. Like, what happened was, like, Bento from Texas, he said that the churches that do not have like the gay marriage should be, taxed for not having gay marriage. So let's take a look.
A question.
This is from your LGBTQ plan, and here's what you write. This is a quote. Freedom of religion is a fundamental right, but it should not be used to discriminate. Do you think religious institutions like colleges, churches, charities, should they lose their tax-exempt status if they oppose same-sex marriage?
Yes. There can be no reward, no benefit, no tax break for anyone or any institution, any organization in America that denies the full human rights and the full civil rights of every single one of us. And so as president, we're going to make that a priority, and we are going to stop those who are infringing upon the human rights of our fellow Americans.
As far as the whole entire tax stuff, like, I think that churches should be taxed, but for different reasons. Like, for example, there are some, of course, churches that are kind of infamous for using like their money for like their own private planes to go around. There's also people like Joel Osteen, where basically he has his own mansion, his own mega church, but he does not pay any taxes at all. There's also the case of selling snake oil to people, or, there's also cases where, like, of course, the politicians are going to get funded by the churches. So I think that churches that actually, fund politicians, also, the churches that also sell snake oil, and the churches that have like those mansions and those jet planes, of course, I believe those churches should be taxed. But as far as taxing churches for discriminating somebody for like, gay marriage, I don't think churches should be taxed on that ground. I ultimately believe that, of course, even though I disagree with the churches, that the churches have a right to discriminate whoever they want to. It's like a different story if it's like a state church. Like, there are some countries in European countries where basically they have a state church. And so because they have a state church, they cannot discriminate on that kind of grounds because it's owned by the state. However, in the United States, the church and the state is separate. And so obviously they can do whatever they want to do with their own property. But as far as like if it's like a state-owned church, they should not discriminate. But since they're like private churches, they could discriminate however they want to. That's how I feel about the taxes stuff. Like, obviously, like the taxes stuff, I think it's a good reason, to tax it because of, not because of discrimination, but also because, the jet planes, the snake oil, and funding politicians. So let's go to the next video I'm going to show for last. This video is basically like this idea of funding like the tax dollars to, the transgender people in jail. So let's go.
Revolution on this. In the 2012 campaign for Senate, you criticized a judge's ruling that granted transition-related surgery to a transgender inmate. You said, I don't think it's a good use of taxpayer dollars.
Right.
Do you regret that?
Yep. No, it's a bad answer. And I think it was a bad answer. And I believe that everyone is entitled to medical care and medical care that they need. And that includes people who are transgender, who it is the time for them to have gender affirming surgery. I just think that's important. And
Okay, this idea is kind of strange to me. The main reason why I say it's strange is because what if, for example, and yes, I know, guys, this is like a really, really extreme example, but what if, for example, like there was like a rapist, right? Or a murderer, they went to like prison, right? What if they actually say that they're transgender? Then they could go to like the prison for the the female ones to rape the girls there. Like, what if that was the case? I'm not even joking, like, guys. Like, what if that was the case? The rapist, the male rapist, goes to prison, claims that they're transgender, then go to the female prison, and then start to rape the females there. I mean, it doesn't sound too off, you know. Like, I mean, it's entirely possible, right? So, or like the vice versa. Like, what if like a woman was like in prison? She claims that she was like a transgender person, starts to rape the guys in the male prison. As um, again, I have nothing against like trans people or LGBT people. Again, I have nothing against them. But like you have to look at this realistically. Like there are some people who will probably take advantage of this kind of stuff and actually take advantage about how people are, you know, well, like, it's just kind of strange, though. But anyway, that's my personal thoughts about the highlights that I show you guys right now. I think it's kind of strange how the Democrats are kind of super far left on these kind of issues. There is some stuff that obviously it's like a lot of stuff that I do not agree with. Like the only thing I possibly agree with is like the taxing the churches for like stuff, but not for gay marriage. But that's it. But everything else is just lunacy to me. But what do you guys think? Tell me in the comment section down below. And obviously, I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.